It's time to dig our teeth into history. World War II began on September 1st, 1939. What country did Germany invade to start the war? Here's a map of Europe today. By September 1st, 1939, Germany had already taken control of Austria, Slovakia, and what is now the Czech Republic. France and Great Britain warned Germany that if it invaded Poland, they would declare war. Hitler didn't flinch. Germany invaded Poland on September 1st, and the war was on. In World War II, what was a blitzkrieg? The Blitz in American football gets its name from the German Blitzkrieg, which was a military strategy, meaning lightning war. It began with a full-on assault with tanks, artillery, and dive bombers. Then, through the chaos, roared armored vehicles attacking wide, separating enemy forces into vulnerable pockets. The German Blitzkrieg was indefensible. World War II involved more territory than any other war in history, with battles in almost 50% of the globe. What U.S. general freed more territory faster than anyone else in history? It was old blood and guts George S. Patton Jr. He led U.S. forces in North Africa, Sicily, and Northern Europe. And General Dwight D. Eisenhower, the supreme commander of the Allied forces, called Patton indispensable. Nevertheless, in 1943, Congress demanded that Patton be relieved of duty for slapping two soldiers in an Army hospital whom he thought were wimps. But Eisenhower intervened, and old blood and guts initiated a blitz of apologies. During the 19th century and before, horses were a familiar sight on the battlefield. But were horses used in combat during World War II? Yes, and in some places, frequently. Russian and German troops rode horses on the Eastern Front, and the United States and Japan used them during fighting in the Pacific. But after World War II, for the most part, the war horse returned to the stable for good. Some countries, like India, still maintain an armed cavalry. Excluding the horse, World War II was famous for new ways to battle. So, were helicopters used in World War II? Yes, as a weapon and vehicle, the helicopter made its debut in World War II. But helicopters were mostly used to gather intelligence, move gear, and make rescues, although some protected convoys of soldiers traveling by ship. During and after World War II, hundreds of thousands of soldiers from both sides surrendered to the enemy. The last was Japanese soldier Nakamura Teruo. What year did Nakamura surrender? In 1974. Why so late? Well, it didn't help that Nakamura was declared deceased in 1945, but he was actually alive and well on a small Indonesian island, and he didn't want to surrender, so he made a small secret camp deep inside the island's jungle and lived there for 20 years. In 1974, a pilot spotted Nakamura's hut by accident. Nakamura was caught and sent back to Taiwan, where he was born. As long as there has been civilization, there has been war. But not all wars are the same. England and Zanzibar fought the shortest war in history. How short was it? Most domestic spats take longer than the 1896 Anglo-Zanzibar War, which lasted all of 38 minutes, wounded one Englishman, and made Zanzibar the fastest country ever to declare war and then promptly surrender. Zanzibar was clearly no match for the British Navy, which fired on the country. But for a long time, the strongest military power in the world has been the United States. And if the U.S. had attacked Zanzibar, it might have been U.S. Marines who brought the battle. Why are Marines called leathernecks? Because until 1872, U.S. Marines wore thick leather collars that gave them better military bearing and protected their necks from sword strikes. And hey, speaking of necks, in 1791, during the French Revolution, the French government asked inventor Tobias Schmidt to come up with a more humane version of something grim. What did Tobias Schmidt invent? Here's a major clue. The invention is named after the National Assembly member who requested it, Joseph Guillotine. It's the guillotine, of course. An execution device called the Schmidt just has the wrong ring to it. The guillotine was used to behead many people, and most famously, just 2 years after it was invented, it beheaded the French king, Louis XVI, ending monarchic rule. The late 1700s were bad for monarchies. In 1781, the British monarchy surrendered the colonies after losing the American Revolution. Here's a question about it. Did women also fight in the American Revolution? Well, does this look like a woman to you? Patriot Deborah Sampson so badly wanted to fight in the war that she dressed up as a man and joined the army. And she wasn't alone. Sisters Rachel and Grace Martin did it too. So did Margaret Corbin, but she didn't have to dress up like a man. She famously saw her husband get shot in a battle, ran over to him, grabbed his artillery, and fired back.